some of these parents, if not most or even all, say these things unintentionally. They would have said it before they realize what they've said, and then probably they won't be humble enough to correct it.
That's right.
So how that can be done is you can rephrase it. For me, I call my son a hero. So I call him that. So, and I want that to sink deep down into him. So anytime he does something he shouldn't have done, for example, he behaves somehow to his younger sister.
Which is normal for children.
So, and then instead of spanking him, yelling at him, you know, you're stubborn, in the pidgin language, Yoruba, they'll say, Agbaya, you shouldn't have done, and all that. I tell him, and hero doesn't behave like that. And hero gives other people the chance to do what they want to do. And hero doesn't struggle with people. And so I try to make him see another side of it. So he feels more like, I'm a hero, I shouldn't condescend to that. So if parents can just find a way to, you know, manage this and change some of these words, giving it a different name, it's going to help these children.
To a larger extent, I think this has to even do with the level of exposure
of the parent. Yeah, if you really want to manage it and change it, if you really have understanding of how far this thing is going to affect the future of the child. I'll also explain my own experience too. If you know how far this can affect the future of this child, you will very much be very, very conscious of it. And you know, it's something serious. You might be gone at the point when this child, now an adult, will still be struggling with this reality. Yeah. In fact, it might have been there all the while in school, even into marriage, but the child will be in his 40s, in his 50s, in his 60s, and he's still struggling with this thing. And these were seeds you sowed unknowingly into the life of that child.
Or in case you are even a child, you're watching this, please do ensure that you show this video to your parents so that they can always learn from this. So take a cue from all of this and please begin to implement this in your daily activities, dealings with your children, anyone around you. So we jumped right back into what we were discussing before because this was really not part of the discussion, but then we needed to talk about it because it is very, very important. So we were talking about the causes of
so one from parent. Another one is the experience one gets around the neighborhood. Around the neighborhood, for example, maybe...
Like environment?
Environment, yes. Right. So maybe, for example, the family is poor. Yeah, so you have people who seem to insult, they abuse, they yell, they tease. Yeah, so you're from so-so family, you never do well, the parents don't have money, you're poor. Another cause or reason for this, I'm referring to, while growing up now, not just, those already, grown in their teenage age. Now, another one is school, when one is being bullied. Maybe you're small in stature compared to your mates, or you're younger to your other classmates in class, and then you discover that you're being bullied at. Teacher calls you names, maybe while trying to ask questions, and then it gets your turn, you couldn't answer, and then the whole class laughs at you, and such begins to repeat itself over and over in that same class anytime that teacher comes in. And that teacher calls you, you are not smart. That boy with a broken brain. That stammering, stuttering boy, that boy who couldn't pronounce so word, and then you're being teased, such word comes over and over again, it begins to bring down that person's self-worth.
Dampen your morale.
Dampen the morale, and that thing begins to, most likely, begin to move into other areas of life.
How pathetic. Now, do we refer low self-esteem and inferiority complex, are they related?
Well, low self-esteem leads into inferiority complex.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because when one begins to have this exposure of you're awkward, you are not as good, you are not as smart, you're not as beautiful, you are not like us. Even for some parents, so just coming back to parents, they weren't expecting this child. This child just came by accident. And this is being said to the child over and over again. Or maybe the man got the child from outside wedlock, and then this child had to be integrated into the family, and then it's being said to him over and over, you are not part of my children. The mother says that, or the stepmother says, you are not. So all of these things begin to, so that degenerates into inferiority complex.
Now that we have discussed the causes or some of the causes of low self-esteem, I think it will be so good for us to talk about how to come out of low self-esteem.
All right.
Now, I think you should cite valid examples because you mentioned you were going to use yourself as examples. So let's hear your story very briefly.
Okay. I grew up from a family of 9 children. We were very poor. We were very poor. We didn't need a prophet to come and prophesy that we were poor.
Okay, so right now I really don't want to imagine.
We were very poor.
Okay.
9 of us, my dad, my mom, 11. By the way, 9 of us from my dad and my mom alone. My dad didn't marry 3 wives or something, pastor. So my dad, my mom, the 9 of us, 11 of us were living in a single room. Yeah, in a single room. And then we had these neighbors around who were not as religious as us. We went to church every now and then. Some of these people went to shrine. Some of them never went anywhere. And we were religious people. But we were poorer than all of them. Most of them, rather. So that was that was an issue by itself. There were lots of teasing, ridicule, insult, abuse, bullying, and all. Then back then in school, I was not so smart. Well, when you're coming from an environment where while going to school, you have people, screaming your name, you cannot do it, you're dull, you're not smart, you don't remember things. Of course, when you get to school and then you remember going back home, there's no food to eat. Yeah, there's no a good place to sleep. So you won't be able to concentrate. Now, I couldn't afford a seat for myself in my primary school, so I needed to just share with somebody maybe for 2 days, 3 days. When there's an issue between us, it drives me away, I find somewhere else to sit. Or sometimes during break, I need to go pick nails, then look for empty, broken wood, nail them together to form a seat. So at such, I couldn't find a very good, smooth wood to sit on. So as time went on, I noticed that my shirt from the back began to open up. So at some point, I'll hear, people calling me to see your pants is showing, see your bum is showing, and all the rest because, because the part of my bum had worn out, so it's now like in lines, like nets. Wow. Yeah, so it's just the thread you're seeing, and then my pants on the inside. So I would cry home at some of those times. My mom would pick maybe a blue rag or another color, but not exactly that color, patch it, and use needle and thread to sew round. So sometimes when I'm walking and you look at me from behind, you will see 2 eyes, just bulging, looking at you like this, and then probably it was terrible. And then, sometimes you have 3 patches. Yeah, because when you have a small one here and a big one, in another case, you might have another small one up there that I don't like how this thing is still showing my pants. So you have one here, one big one here, and one other small one there. I remember there was a time my uniform, I used it maybe 2 years or 3 years.
Wow, without changing it?
Yeah, and then my mom stitched and stitched till this one was shorter than this one. Yeah, it's funny, but I'm actually driving the point of how, real...
This is terribly terrible.
Yeah, real-time experience. I'm going to tell you a decision I made so you understand where...
How old were you at that time?
Yeah, I was around 8, 9, 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm really trying to imagine an 8-year-old child, 9, 10, going through all of this.
Yeah. And then at that time, I couldn't read. My mates could read.
But you
I
had
couldn't
shoes
read.
To wear, yeah?
I'm still coming to the shoe aspect.
Oh my God.
I couldn't read.
This is not even funny.
I wasn't smart. I was probably one of the last kids in the class of maybe 35, 28. I'll be coming at 27 if at all I pass, or 20 something. But I was always 20 something.
Position 27th position.
Yeah. In class, I was then.
You were really dull.
I was.
You were very.
Yeah.
Really?
I was an ardent.
How many?
Yeah, 30 something or 20 something. Then I was an ardent stutter. Yeah, so it was really serious. Then I was
like a whole lot of complicating issues.
Yeah, then I was of a small stature in class there, so guys would tease me, the bigger ones would bully me. me. And so it was like that. Then for my
imagine it.
footwear, I remember my eldest brother is 11 years older than I am. I remember there was a time he moved to the senior secondary. So one of the shoes was using at the time, sandal. He couldn't wear it again. And at that point, I was wearing slippers. No, the sandal I was using, I noticed at the back, yeah, there was I'd worn it over and over. So the thing had worn off. So my heel was literally touching the ground because it had eaten off the entire the entire sole. So when I get
Oh
to
my
school
God.
with
This is just unimaginable.
oh yeah, that was what I went through. So my heel would be touching the ground while walking to school, and also I picked on his old sandal. Imagine 11-year-old older than I
can imagine
am.
the distance.
Yes, yeah. So my parents then did cut the front part of the sandal and the back. So it became short. They actually cut it with knife. So it wasn't maybe there was some so they had to use knife to cut the front and cut the back. So it became shorter. So my leg could enter. So
Oh
so while walking to school, I walk, and they like this. It wasn't. It's funny, but I went through that. So academically, I wasn't smart. I wasn't intelligent. Back at home, there were lots of insults, bully, abuse, and all that. So I just grew up with that kind of a mentality.
Wow.
And so I did notice something as I grew up. I became a teenager, in my late teens. I noticed that we later moved out of that area. We moved somewhere else. But then I noticed something, that anytime I heard my name, my birth name actually is Timothy, not Tim. So anytime I heard the name Timothy, I literally hear, you can't do it. You're poor. You're not smart.
Because that is what
You're a stutter. You will repeat. You are poor. Your uniform is tattered. I remember I had a name then in Yoruba, Pastor Pupa.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm just trying to remember now, Pastor Pupa, because they knew my dad was a Christian, he was a pastor and all that. So he just gave me that in primary school,
Oh
Pastor
my God.
Pupa.
So I'm really trying so hard to, put myself together, but you know what? You know what keeps making me laugh? Is that